Welcome back. How would we run our project in production? We can run our server and client with one command now. But they still run separately as different applications on different ports. Our server runs on port 8000, while our client uses port 3000. When we run our project in production, to keep things simple, we often want to run the entire thing on one server, somewhere in the cloud. Ideally, we'd have the ability to serve our front end from the same server as our API. This way, we'd not have to manage two separate servers at different URLs or with different ports. The way we usually do this is in our client. If we're using some framework like React or Angular, like React, we'd first build our project, including our framework, our source code, and any assets that we're using, into a single build folder that's optimized for production. So with our client here, if we look in package.json, we have this build script. What does it do? What happens if we try to run this? Let's see. Right now, it's only in our client's package.json, so we need to cd into our client and run npm build. Our script is creating an optimized production build from our source code. We now have this build folder with all of the assets needed for our application. And our source code has been bundled into these strangely named files here, which have been compressed to minimize load time. We can learn a lot more about what Create React App does when it builds our script by going to this link, cra.link/deployment. Here we can read all about what this build script does and how it lets us serve our site directly from index.html. There's even some information here about different types of routing, as well as how to deploy our application using different clouds like AWS Amplify and Azure, Google's Firebase, and so on. No worries, we'll dive deep into deploying Node projects in production using the cloud. We'll get there. For now, this page is of course React specific, but most frameworks provide a script that allows us to build our application for production. And if you're using just plain old JavaScript for your front end, you don't even need to worry about this. You can just serve those files directly. Let's get this working with our project. We now have this build folder, and we want to serve it from our API. We don't want this build to stay in our client, so we can automatically set up our client to copy this folder into our server. We do this by setting this build_path variable in the environment where our build script runs. And we point this using the equal sign to our server directory. So we're going to go up out of our client and into /server. Specifically, we'll be serving the /public folder, which will contain the files from our build, just like these. So we can get rid of these for now. And now, if we run npm run build, our optimized production build will be moved directly to our server, check it out. We have this public folder with our front-end code. Now, this build script, build path variable works on versions of the React scripts package that we've installed here, which are greater than 4.0.2. So make sure you're using the latest version of Create React App and the React script tool. If you're stuck using an older version of Create React App, you can copy the files from the default build folder in the client and move it to the public folder in the server, doing this manually. The build path is just shorthand for doing exactly that. And now our client code is side by side with our server, optimized for production, and we can serve it from our API. We've done this before. Let's recap. In our app.js, as part of our middleware chain, right below express.json, we'll use another built-in Express middleware. app.use express.static. And here we'll serve all of our public files using the path.join function in our built-in path module. Path equals require path. And we're joining our current directory with, we're currently in the source folder, so we want to go up out of it one level and serve the public folder. We can group all of our Express middleware that's built in, and let's see this in action. We can now go to the root of our project directory, and we don't have to run our client anymore. We can just do npm run server, which, if you remember, runs our watch script. Let's give this a go. Now in our browser, we go to the URL for our API. So localhost at port 3000 is where Create React App would serve our front end, but it's now Express doing the serving and not Create React App. So we go to the URL at port 8000. And it's serving our application in that index.html. So let's try loading it. And we get our front end, but it's not loading the launch endpoint. We need to browse to launch on that first page load. Because remember, our front-end application is only routing the slash and the /launch routes to the launch page. And index.html is not one of those routes. So let's fix this. We're going to serve our index.html from the /route so that the user doesn't need to specify that they want to load index.html, and so that that first page load corresponds to the launch page. So right here, below our planets router, let's tell Express what to do when we .get the /route. We'll use an arrow function, which takes request and response, and sends the index.html file in response. If we remember, that's the res.send file function, and we'll use our path.join to join our current directory, where our app.js currently is, and we're going to go one level up out of the source folder and into public/index.html. That's the file we want to serve. So up one level into the public folder, and specifically the index.html file. There we go. Let's run our marvelous little API. And in our browser, let's try loading the root route. There we go. No need to load index.html. And we can browse to our different routes. All right, so that build process was a little bit tedious. Using our newfound NPM scripting mastery, let's go to our root package.json here, and we'll create a script, one script to rule them all, that builds our client and runs our production-ready server. So let's call this deploy, because we'll be using it in production. And we can say npm run build in the client. So that's going to be prefix client. And once that's done building and copying the public folder into our server, we can then just do npm start in the prefix server folder, which is going to run Node directly and not nodemon, which is more of a development tool. Remember, nodemon is our development dependency in our package.json right here. So now, by running npm run deploy in the root of our project, we can serve an optimized build of our front-end code using Express's static file serving functionality, all using one server with one port, npm run deploy. And once our server starts listening, in our browser, everything is available. Very nice. I'll see you in the next video.